This is my spring cottage, and this is an underground house beneath it. And over the next 33 minutes, I'll be taking you along the journey of how I built a $1 million cottage for a build battle. Let's get to building. So I already did some planning ahead of time, as you can see. So first things first, I went ahead and created a basic layout and basic color scheme because I knew both of those were going to be a bit tricky. I wanted to have the cottage on a hill in a forest, and beneath it would be the underground house that led out into an open grassy field. It took me a few tries to get a layout that was pretty good. And colors, no, let's just not even talk about it because we have an entire hour of footage of me trying to pick a color scheme still to come. Oh goodness, that was rough. Next, I worked on creating this custom gable roof so I could have a bedroom in the attic/loft. Well, it's an attic, but is like a loft. You'll see what I mean in a bit. Pretty straightforward, but definitely took up a lot of time, especially to get this area to match up, or at least somewhat match up. Moving on. I then built the walls and windows and this. We can cover that up later, right? And then to finish it up, I added some wall and roof trim, a front door window, some colors, and no, the walls aren't made of the driveway pebbles. Doesn't even look similar at all, okay? There's stuff being cooked up, alright? Let's just move on, shall we? Time for the entryway. I think I want to try to incorporate like a mix of old and like more modern into this house. Wow, can we get a hand of applause for this incredible explanation? Thank you. And in case my explanation is a bit too smart to understand, here are some visual examples of what I want to achieve at this house. So I placed down some furniture and then debated on how big the entrance area should be, added some decorations, and then it came time for me to face the biggest challenge of this entire build. So after 27 minutes and 54 seconds, I finally settled on this. Glad that's done. Then I moved on to the bathroom because I desperately needed a break from the entryway I spent my entire afternoon on. Plop down the basics, your tub, toilet, sink. Oh, and speaking of sink, I went ahead and made this custom sink here using the mid-century TV table and the industrial sink. Mid-century TV stand and industrial sink. I really should refresh myself on the names of Bloxburg items. But I love this build hack. I forgot who came up with it, but it's just so good. I'll use it a few more times in this build. I just love it. Finished that off with a few decorations, and so I took a little bit of a break. I'm back, and the first thing I want to do is I just want to redo the coloring.
Glad that's done.
Make that 53 minutes and 31 seconds. Okay, so I played around with it for quite a while, and I think I finally got a color scheme I'm pretty happy with. It's definitely grown on me. I actually really like it now. I put some nice pops of blue around because it is my favorite color, not because it was an easy way to quickly color things and have them look nice, because really I don't know how to color this house. Blue is my favorite. And with the color scheme done and out of the way, it is time for the dining room. And I know exactly what I wanted to do with this room. When searching for inspiration, I had come across this house, and I love the idea of trying to add this glass cover bump out room thingy as walls and ceiling for our dining room. So I got to work, and it was actually pretty simple. Just use some basic shapes for the structure of the enclosure. Is that a better word for it? Enclosure? Okay, so apparently it's just called a greenhouse. Well, we're using it for a dining room anyways. Once the basic outline was done, I went in with some small rectangles and used the transform tool to move them up and rotate them a little bit, repeating the process with each rectangle until I got this curve. Finished it off by adding the glass in the same techniques as the structure, and voila, a beautiful dining room greenhouse. Then I added in the table and chairs, but not before swapping them out with other tables and chairs at least once, but that's besides the point. Added some nice decorations to the table, and then it was time for more coloring. Part of me really wants to put like a pop of color for this mug though, like a bright yellow or even like a turquoise. I feel like kind of looks really nice. And then maybe also just add this cup of pens, and maybe that we can give like a pop of like orange. I don't know, I kind of like it. I think it's kind of interesting, kind of nice, kind of cool. Yes, Elbaphant, now you're cooking. So I went with it. I continued to fill up the space, adding in some floor lamps, potted plants, more potted plants, a lounge chair, and an art easel, creating this fun space to chill, relax, and paint the beautiful scenery. Well, maybe not yet, but eventually, when the house is all done. So now the next thing I want to work on is this kitchen here. I've long been waiting to work on this kitchen. Kitchens have always been one of my favorite rooms to decorate, so you bet I had a pretty awesome plan going into this to make this my best kitchen yet. I have not thought about this at all yet, so I'm really not sure exactly what I'm gonna do here. Well, doing nothing often leads to the very best of something, which was said by someone important, probably, so that's why I planned nothing at all so I can build the very best kitchen. Yes, I played around with some kitchen layouts until I finally found one that I think is pretty good. I did this fun seating area over here and some custom shelving, and it was looking pretty cool. And you know how this goes. Next was the big appliances and some decorations. I did the yellow and turquoise that we used in the dining room to some of these items to bring the space together, and it just looks so good. I love it. The colors just add so much to the kitchen and give it more life and add the spring summer feel that I think it needed. Then I added the countertop appliances, and I also played around with the colors of the metal surfaces, such as the handles I gave a gold color, the oven hood and sink I gave a brown color to give it a copper look. Oh, and in case you were wondering for the counters, I actually used this counter here and added a basic shape to the sides to give it this wood outline. I did a little coffee tea corner over here and set up the kitchen island as if I were about to cook something, to again give it more life and a lived-in feel. And then I did the useless thing that I like doing, which is filling the kitchen cabinets that never get opened anyways. So I filled them with pots, pans, cookbooks, plates, cake stands, etc., and that concludes the kitchen. Oh, I love it so much. Definitely my favorite kitchen I've ever made, for sure. And with the kitchen all done, I decided to move on to the screened-in porch. I wanted to have an older feel and be an area to chat with friends, so I did a piano for some entertainment and some seating, and then realized it made more sense for this room to be a sunroom rather than a screened-in porch, so I changed the windows to actual windows to, you know, keep the furniture safe and clean.
Realism.
Then I added some finishing touches to the entryway, such as a table to put your sunglasses and car keys on, and changed the color of the bathroom to be, well, blue. Blue's my favorite. And real quick, before we move on to the next room, I realized I hadn't given you context for this build battle, so let's fix that. It all started on an evening in February. Would you like to participate in a build challenge with me in Bloxburg, like we used to do?
I would love to.
And with my cousin now in on the build battle, we had to pick a theme. Would you like to do something for Easter? And while we figure out what to build, subscribe. Obviously, as you know from the title, we eventually settled on a spring cottage. We had planned everything, the rules, the deadline, the requirements, we were all set. But something was missing. In order to make this the best build battle I had yet to participate in, I needed another participant. Ayo. And here we are. After a bit of planning, we finally came up with the ultimate plan. Together with my cousin and a subscriber, we would compete in a spring cottage build battle with an underground house, just cause you know it. The rules are simple. Finish the build by March 22nd and build a cottage with an underground house. So yeah, that's how I ended up here. Now let's get back to building. Then I decided it's time to work on the living room. Now time to finish off with some decorations. Before decorating the rest of the living room, I first played around with the layout of the furniture and yada yada yada, you know the drill. I placed this and placed that, so instead we're going to talk about the more interesting things. Well, I hurried this up because I'm supposed to have the entire build done in 4 days ago. I may have severely underestimated how big of a project this would be, and therefore how long it would take. So yeah, we better keep building. I reused the centerpiece from the dining table and put it on the coffee table because it's just so nice. I love this tray so much. Definitely going to be using a tray and different combinations of items here on out in my builds. I did some pillows to the couches. Actually, scratch that. I decided to keep it simple, how I like it. And then over in this corner, I experimented with a lot of things. I tried adding windows, a hanging chair, a shelf of plants, and eventually settled on leaving it empty with one window on the side. It's already a pretty busy living room, so that empty space definitely helps it feel more spacious. One of the things I really wanted to make sure I incorporated in this house was a wall of paintings, specifically paintings of landscapes, and since we had a bare wall here, I thought that it would fit nicely on this wall. You'll have to tell me what you think, but to me it screams cottage and reminds me of my grandparents' house, so very glad I added that. But that's enough about a wall. Played around with the lighting and decided to use these wall candles, once again another fun way to incorporate some old classy items into a definitely more modern cottage. But that was pretty much it for the living room. So I made some very boring fixes to the roof and entryway that improved the quality of the build for sure. It's nice not to have the roof poking through the walls. And then I headed out back to work on the little patio, and then it was time for the loft bedroom. And so what I'm thinking for the bedroom is I'm thinking the bed will go up against this wall here, and then this can be like some desk and shelving, and then maybe over here just kind of like an open closet, maybe like a little chair to sit down, like a beanbag chair. You could even like put a whole TV up here too, so maybe we'd make like a cool hangout space. I also think I want to continue these beams across the rest of this just so that it matches. So that's just what I did. With the idea planned out, I started with the beams. And with the beams finished, I began placing the furniture. And the decorations. Blue's my favorite. And with our bedroom complete, it was time to finish the very last room of the house, of the cottage at least. We still have the underground house basement thingy, but it's time we work on the garage. I did all the basic garagey stuff, mainly filling the room with old random clutter items to look like it's being used for storage. In the center, I also added this cart with some tools and paint on it as if someone was just working on the golf cart. And then over on this wall here, I also added a broken sink with lots of tools to again give the idea that someone is working on fixing the sink. I thought adding stuff like that was a cool idea and kind of brings the build to life a bit more. And with that, the cottage is complete. But we're not quite done. Now it's time for the outside. I think first I might as well just do this garden here. It should be pretty simple. So that's just what I did. I played around with some fences and settled on the white picket fence. Just felt like it couldn't really be a garden without the iconic white picket fence. But now I need to plan out what I'm planting in this garden. So we do have quite a few options. Like definitely want to do some carrots. And I'll probably do like a row of each thing maybe. So like a row of carrots and maybe a row of onions. Just kind of want to have a variety of things. We could do a row of tomatoes as well. And maybe a row of strawberries and watermelons. Those are all kind of more spring, summer plants. So that's kind of everything. We could do a bush of some sorts, like we could do a row of berry bushes, I guess. And with our tasty selection of fruits and vegetables finalized, I placed them down in rows, scattering them randomly about as if we had tossed seeds onto the soil. But then I realized I'm not sure exactly how gardens work. Like, I'm not sure if you just like scatter the seeds along, or if you like, I've also seen people dig holes and then put the seeds in the hole. So then I feel like it would be more uniform. But I just scattered it around because it looks nice. And I did also try to make it like some didn't grow. So like there's some gaps. At least I did that right. That and the spacing. I also went around and added some of these natural plants to make the garden look more full. Lettuce, I mean. I placed down a bunch of lettuce. And spinach. I know what I'm doing. To finish off our lovely, realistic garden, I know what I'm doing. I messed around with the fences a bit more, adding a hedge underneath before scrapping the fence idea altogether. I just wasn't really loving how it was looking. Also lined the garden with some dirt piles, so that's a more natural, nice transition from dirt to path or grass, instead of, well, this. I also later on added these signs showing what is being grown, in case you couldn't already tell. And while our fruits and veggies ripen, it's time we hop over to work on the greenhouse, which I am very, very excited to make. And before we can get to decorating, we first need to build the structure. Montage! Okay, so the greenhouse is all done, so now it's time to decorate the inside. First off, planters, which I had a lot of fun playing around with, using a bunch of different planters of different shapes and sizes to create a fun little layout for a greenhouse. I also added a shelf along the top here to later fill with lots of small potted plants. And to finish it off, I gave the planters a nice modern look. Okay, so now's the fun part, because I just get to fill all of these with plants. And fun it was. Landscaping is definitely one of my favorite things to do, and yes, this isn't really landscaping, but it was still super fun getting to put bushes and flowers around. Especially the trees. Once I came up with the idea of putting trees around, I fell in love. It really makes the greenhouse feel more magical. It seemed like an entirely different place. There's just a feeling here that I can't get over. And after adding all the main plants, I proceeded to do what I always do, and that's fill the empty spots to the pots with some natural plants. Like, I grabbed this pergola arch, and I'm thinking that can go right here, like right when you exit. Yeah, I feel like that actually kind of looks really nice. Ooh, maybe we do that on the other side too, because I actually really like how that looks. Yes, yes, yes. Adding those gives the greenhouse so much more shape and character. I love them. And then I placed all these tools around, mostly outside by or on this bench, but I did hang some tools inside as well. I also put this garden gnome back here because I just had to. How can we have a proper garden without the classic garden gnome? I did say the same thing about the fence, didn't I? Then I colored them all blue. Okay, I'll admit, that's maybe a bit much, so I went for blacks and reds instead. And then we have these insect hotels, which I want to try to add in a lot of places, because I really want a bunch of butterflies in here. I think that could be awesome. So like one thing I think I'm going to do is just place a bunch on this wall. Okay, that might be a little bit crazy, actually. At least I realized it pretty soon, okay? I realized it was a bit much. I just love my butterflies. I think I'll have one of these, and then the rest I'll hide inside all of the planters. So after making the wise decision to tone down the amount of insect hotels I put on the walls, I put an insect hotel on a basic shape and copied that around so that I can transform the insect hotels to be inside the planters. So that way I can have butterflies flying all throughout the room. And with them all placed, I just had to wait. And wait. And wait. I just don't understand. I tried everything. I even added this pop-out for them, and unfortunately, no matter what I tried, the butterflies wouldn't spawn. Even like I said, adding those pop-outs, they could fly in and out. In case, they can't spawn inside if there's not a way out, because I'm sure that's the problem. And that's okay. It's okay. Despite this devastating truth, the greenhouse needed my help. I did what every good gardener must when they realize they can't have butterflies in their greenhouse, and that's add plants to their shelves. So I grabbed just about every potted plant and decorations that would fit on the shelf and alternated between them, giving them all different colors until the shelf was full. Lastly, I added some final touches to the outside, and voila, the greenhouse is complete. But now I want to build a pond over here, and then I'll go ahead and make the underground house part of it and do the landscaping. But I thought this would be an awesome spot for the pond, especially because it's right out of this bay window, so you could just look at the pond. I think that'll look pretty nice. And for a bit of context, this is the type of pond I'll be making. Well, not this. The plants will be green, and there'll be water and fish. It'll be not dead, alive, but it will be similar. But not dead. But it'll slope down like this to a bunch of plants and rocks in the pond. Green, thriving, not dead, alive ones, yes. And I'll be building this on the base floor of the plot so we can get that lovely looking water. And not this. And then I'll just use some mansard roofs to kind of build a hill up to this floor to kind of connect it. And to not bore you with this process, I'll sum it up for those interested because it's a pretty simple way to level up your ponds from this to this. And credits to Brant for this pond style. He has a video that goes more in depth if you're interested, but first... Oh, hey there, the name is, Proet McKinpens, and I'm your local pond installer, not Elbaphant. We don't even really look alike. I was called in to create a realistic and accurate pond in this here lovely backyard, and since I'm a professional, you can trust that I know what I'm doing. Anyways, let's mosey on over and build a pond, shall we? First off, using some plain marking, we'll just draw out a random shape, and then taking a basement, we'll drag it out over our shape so that we can build the bottom of the pond, then just close it in with some walls. Now we gotta build the floor of the pond, and since we don't want it this deep, I'm gonna grab a cube, scale it all the way out, and to check the height, I'll just remove the basement, and replace it with a shallow pool. Now I just gotta adjust it to where it's barely peeking above. Awesome. Now replace the pool with the basement, and now we just gotta fill the pond with these cubes. Alright, now to make the pond slope down to the floor. Just gonna grab out a wedge, and scale that out, and then we just repeat the process. Alrighty, and then for these corners that stick out, we'll just need a corner wedge, and then just scale it till it about fits. They never end up fitting perfectly, so just play around with it. And now that the base is complete, we just need to fill it up with some rocks and a lot of plants. There we go. There we go. And then to add some final touches, I placed some dirt piles all over the floor so that it's not so flat, and I added some animals such as frogs, which I used the frog statue for, and snails and fish, which I made using some spheres. And there we have it, a beautiful pond, and hopefully now you have the tools to go impress your friends with a pond like this. Thanks, Pratt McKinpons. You're mighty welcome. Now the last thing we need to do is work on this hill. Look at that. It's crazy how much a Bloxburg build can really make you feel something. And I can't tell you how many times I've just sat in this living room, literally, and just admired the view, playing around with the time of day, weather. It really is crazy to think about, but that's what I love so much about Bloxburg. The building is fun, but it's the way the builds make you feel, the way you can be immersed in them, and the fun memories you make using the builds that are truly the reason this game is so special. But with that, the garden, greenhouse, and pond are officially completed. But we're not quite done yet, because we still have an underground house to make, and I can tell you now that I blew myself away with some of these rooms. This build was already turning out to be one of my favorites, but this downstairs area really sealed the deal for me. So without further ado, it's underground house time. So the first thing I have to do is plan out the layout. And I'm not gonna bore you with the 3 minutes of straight talking that I have of me yapping about each and every wall I place. Instead, cut straight to the end result, especially because half of the walls I place in this segment end up moving later. But for a bit of context, here's the layout, and here is a little demonstration of how it will change over time. But now that you know what I'm doing, the first room I'm gonna work on is the indoor pool. And first off, I'm actually gonna make the indoor pool outdoors as well. Like half indoor, half outdoors. Just because I think it might be cool. Yeah. Welcome to How to Build a Realistic Pool Easy Tutorial presented by Elbaphant. Step 1, dig out a basement. Step 2, disable the roof. Step 3, grab a cube. Step 4, scale it to the height of a wall. Step 5, copy the cube. Step 6, using medium grid, rotate it once. Step 13, repeat the process for the other corners. Step 16, if you are having trouble seeing what you're doing in the dark, place 20 lights, 14 on the floor above the pool, and 6 in the pool. Step 17, to create the slope, grab a cube. Step 23, on one side of the pool, raise the cubes up to what you think a good height might be. Step 24, raise the cubes on the ground up a bit. Step 33, go out of build mode. Step 34, walk over to your pool. Step 38, repeat steps 33 through 35 and 36 through 38 if needed. Step 42, rotate it to be at a 45-degree angle. Step 43, copy the cube and place it next to the cube. Step 44, repeat step 42. Step 57, forget steps 45 through 56. Step 66, copy the cube. 67, place the cube. Rotate 69, raise the cube. Steps 66 through 69, give your pool floor a light blue/purple/gray color. Step 98, place cubes around edges using transform tool to rotate and adjust height. And there you go, that is how to build a realistic pool very easily. Decorating time. I'm not exactly sure what I want to do. I think one thing that would be good is to add a bunch of pillars though, which was completely a carefully articulated design choice. It's not like looking at a blank wall, the only thing I can think of is to use pillars to break it up. I mean, it was a very, very heavily intellectually plan I made way ahead of time. And for the walls, I wonder how black would look. Okay, I definitely think we could go somewhere with this. This is looking nice. Yeah, no, it really wasn't what it is. And before we do much more on the inside, I think we should probably finish enclosing the indoor part of our pool. So I built a wall here with some doors so you can go outside or inside if you are inside or outside. And then I used plain marking to create the design for the roof, used an art structural to make it look good, and then using some structurals and basic shapes, I finished the roof. There we go, that looks really nice. I then went on to add some steps to the pool as well as some floaties and a water slide that I colored blue. Blue is my favorite. I love how this pool is coming together and it's almost done, just need to decorate the area outside the pool. I started with a little storage area for, well, towels and equipment like this pool inflatable pump air tank thingy. Yes, there's nothing special to this area anyways, let's just move on. And then over here, I want to grab some lounge chairs, these patio sun chairs right here. Just a few sets of them, and then in the middle I can put a table, so that you can put like drinks down and stuff like that. And then over on this side, I added some tables and chairs so you can eat lunch or play a card game or something. I don't know why I keep explaining such basic things, I should stop. I also added some much needed windows and removed the obsessive amount of, you know what, they were never there. Shh. Back to the outside, I used a floor and plain marking to make this cool planter design, filled it with some trees and bushes, and voila! I love how it turned out, it looks so good. And to finish it off, I added these stairs that lead to the upper layer of the backyard. Oh, and I also made this feature wall. They're waves. I mean, obviously not hills or anything. Like, they look like waves. I don't know why I need to mention that they are waves. Let's go to the next room, shall we? Theater time! So this is the area I have to work with, and here's kind of what I'm thinking. Actually, forget that. Let's skip forward because I ended up redoing the layout. Okay, so I think this is our new cinema layout. Here we go. I'm thinking just so that we don't have like 3 skinny hallways, I kind of opened this up a little bit, so there'll be a door that enters in here to the cinema, and then out here will actually be, I'm thinking, a counter right here where you get your snacks. But this room itself will be the movie theater. And then instead of recliners, I think we'll just have one big couch back here, and then we'll go down a layer and then have another like couch here. Okay, yeah, that's enough yapping. Time to build. I started off with the basic shape work to create 2 different layers, and then worked on creating the sectional sofas for a theater. I then played around with some railing before deciding to go with no railing. Added some steps, gave everything a color, which I went for the bold choice of doing dark floors and walls and a white sofa. Definitely stands out, which may not be the best if you're trying to watch a movie, but it looks good, so. Then I started working on a custom design element for our theater. Using some basic shapes and structurals, I created this wood paneling, which I love. It was pretty easy too, just took a while to drag out all the structurals. Then I copied. I was afraid of that. Some of the structurals must have attached to the floor instead of the cubes, so they don't copy over. But hey, at least it's only 2,800 to copy. So I copied the paneling, fixed it so no structurals are attached to the floor, and then moved it up onto the ceiling, and then again on the other side of the room to create this awesome wood paneling design. I very much impressed myself with this. And since this is a movie theater after all, I think the rest of this section should be done movie style. Oh no, not that. 1 second. Oops, not that either. Ah, there we go. I love how this theater turned out so much, and later on at some point ended up adding in some cool posters. Would have been cool if I had made custom movie posters, but wait, there's no blue. Blue's my favorite. There we go. Snack kitchen time. So first thing I'm gonna do is just grab some counters. I created a layout, grabbed all of the appliances I wanted, such as a soda fountain, slushie machine, chocolate fountain. I may have gotten a little carried away with the block books, but I couldn't help it. It's just so fun to place all the block books items around. I adjusted the layout, added in some decorations, nothing too crazy with this room. I did although make this island hanging shelf thing with plants, which is kinda cool. But yeah, that's it. Onto the guest bedroom. Starting off, I decided to take inspiration from the theater and separate the room into 2 layers. The top layer would be the main bedroom space where we'd put our bed, and the bottom layer would be primarily a walkway to access the closet, bathroom, and, well, upper layer. Other than that, though, I have no plan or idea whatsoever. Let's build a bedroom. Starting first with the closet, just cause it sounds like a lot of fun. I continued the raised platform into the closet and added some stairs to get down. I then added the railing border, whatever this is, as well as some arched openings to match the arched doorway we have leading into the closet. And behind these we'll put our wardrobes. Once that was done, I gave the room some color and started on the decorations, adding this bench to the bottom layer and also this table to do something with. To be honest, I don't really know. But if you wanted to set something down on it like you would a normal table, then it's there for that. Also added some carpets, a large mirror, this circly wall decor, and then it was time to move on to the bedroom part of the bedroom. Of course, we need our bed, and some nightstands, maybe some lights as well. I don't know, I'm not loving it. Oh, actually, how about these? I kinda like them. I also want a big window on this wall so you can enjoy the what will eventually be scenery. But that brings up a problem because I also want a TV, but I don't want it to block the view. Let me see what I can figure out. Okay, so I found this NYX laser projection TV, and I'm thinking, what if I put this on a basic shape and hide it in a table so the TV only pops up when you want to watch something? Since how this projection TV works is it actually displays or like projects an image onto the wall like a projector would. So it would kind of be like those TVs that raise up out of the table, except this one would just pop up. I think that could actually be super cool. Let me see what I could do. Okay, I've played around a bit, and this is what I got. So the TV pops up when you either use the remote or walk up to it and turn it on, and then when turned off, the screen disappears so you can enjoy the view. I love it so much. Now moving on to this corner, I'm thinking a mini gym could be a nice addition because after all, we need something to fill the space, and we didn't add an actual gym to the house, so... And yes, hindsight, I realize this doesn't make much sense because the gym is located in the guest bedroom. But minor details. I extended the block over a bit to make a bench and then, well, added the gym items. I also felt that the wall was a little bare. Problem solved. And then I moved down to this little walkway. First off, I know I want a bench to sit on, so let's just copy. Add. I meant add when I was saying this. Minor slip up. I added a unique bench. No copy business. We could also add a hat stand. And maybe this bookshelf? I don't love it. Maybe this dresser would be better instead. And then all that's left are some decorations. There we go. All finished. Oh, except for the bathroom. The bathroom. Yeah, you know, bathrooms are pretty boring, so we can just move past it. Skip it, really. I mean, it's just a bathroom. Not me, I don't know, struggling with colors again. Could it be me? But I'm not really loving the colors, so I think I'm just gonna decorate the entire bathroom, kind of with this color scheme. And if I still don't like it after I finish, then I'll recolor everything. Yeah, okay, I know. The colors aren't great, but I will change them, eventually. But I made this custom shower using just some basic shapes to create a fake sliding glass door, and this. Don't ask me what it's called. And then for the sink, I went for a unique design. I don't know if you've seen the build hack before where you put the mid-century TV stand and the industrial sink together. Okay, yes, I may have copied and pasted the design from upstairs, but I just love it so much. And I spiced it up a little bit. First off, there's 2 sinks instead of 1. So, yeah, there's also a basic shape at the bottom. Okay, but in all seriousness, I did make it a bit different. I used the tilt sink instead of the industrial one. But that's it. For now, I will revisit it later. I just needed to move on to something else for a bit. Plus, I'm sure you're tired of my yapping, plus we are very much behind schedule. Oh my, yes we are! Let's get this thing done, we are out of time! Okay, time we finish the guest bathroom. I've had a break, feel refreshed, so hopefully I can make this look better. So I went to work, adding the structure on the bathtub just to try to make it look a bit more interesting and less boring. It's a little interesting, but don't question it. I also added some plants above the shower wall and played around with the colors, and I think it looks better now. It may be like completely opposite of the bedroom, but once again, minor details. I added a shelving unit, and of course, like always, finished off the room with some decorations. And that leaves us with 2 rooms left to go, negative time left. Yes, I am very much past the original due date. Thank you, Crafty and Ming, for giving me some more time. And I have only a faint idea of what I want to do. It seems to be a common theme. I guess that's true. Planning to make my builds better? To start sketching my builds? Using inspiration pictures? No wonder you struggle with layouts. Should I start planning out my builds? Nah, who needs planning? I mean, okay, maybe some planning could help. There's actually a bit of a challenge to build out the basics of the living room because of the angle it's at, but I managed to get at least most things lined up nicely. If you haven't already caught on, I've absolutely fallen in love with doing different layers, so I had to split up the living room as well. This area up here will be a walkway, and down below we will have the sofa, TV, etc. Also decided to try something similar to the wall panels we made in the theater to give the room a more unique, interesting look. And then for fireplaces, I'll probably custom build one because I don't know that we can get one the size I want it. Yep, none of the fireplaces fit, so I decided to make my own, and oh boy am I glad I did. I had no idea I was capable of making something like this. It turned out amazing. Then I added some marble wall paneling, a TV, a piano, of course, and then the sofa, which I chose to make one big sectional. And then to continue the white beveling theme, I surrounded the sofa with some basic shapes. Oh, and I also made this coffee table to fit the theme. Then I went and tackled the giant window, which was also a bit challenging, and I'll admit, turned out a bit odd, but it works. Looks a bit interesting, but it's kind of cool. I was trying to make this, but it kind of turned out a little bit more like futuristic space style, so I also added in a sauna and finished off the room with some decorations. And now it's time we finish the build. Time to tackle the final room of our underground house. It's office time. The plan here is to build a secret and not so secret nature themed office using this space, and the reason it'll be a secret not so secret office is because I want the entrance to be a secret bookshelf door, but I also want this room to have a massive window against the outer wall, so it'll be pretty clear from the outside that there's an office in the house. You just have to figure out how to enter, except for the fact that I just told you. Not so secret, but that's okay. And I want this room to have water features and lots of plants to make it a fun nature themed office. But before that, I kind of want to do the landscaping. Office time! And with that, the cottage is finished! And hey, this was a brand new style video for me, so I'd love to hear your thoughts, and if you'd like to see a full tour of our 3 cottages from this build battle, that video will be on screen. Have a great day.